Right, let's dive into using the wiggler in After Effects, and I'll share my screen again. Okay, so here I have put these, well, I have made a new composition with this mystic Carina Nebula. Yeah, how do you pronounce that? Nebula? Anyway. And then what I also have is one of my spaceships here. And I have put this very simple animation. I mean, it's only 3 keyframes and it's moving from left to right, like a good spaceship should do. And I have to see to it that it goes out of the picture and doesn't stay in. So far we have we have made the animation almost by hand here. Well, not exactly, but I mean, what I want now is to let the computer calculate, or the program calculate a little bit more about how the movement should go. And that's where I want to use this wiggler tool. And you might notice that it's showing the wiggler here because I search for it under window. There you can find the wiggler if it's not visible to you, and by default it's not visible. There are other places where you can find wiggling as well, and we'll go there quite soon. Okay, so what does the wiggler do? I think it's best if I simply show it. Okay, so in order to make the wiggler work, I need to give it some keyframes to work with where there is movement. Okay, so I want the wiggling to happen between these 3 keyframes. And now I'll click it open, and it will show up active only if you have selected a layer and selected keyframes that have some sort of movement to them. Well, spatial path. And you can also change the temporal graph, but we're not going there now. Okay, then I also want the noise type to be smooth and everything to move independently in the X and Y dimensions. So please note that these are now 2D layers. I've never used the wiggler in a 3D layer, by the way. It should work. But anyway, I've changed the frequency already to 12 wiggles per second. I think the basic wiggling is like 2 wiggles per second, which is quite low. I could just make it a little bit higher, maybe 15. It can go very much higher than that. And I've put the magnitude to 19. And as you can see, it goes like over 200 or something. I don't actually know what the maximum wiggle is. Okay, I'm thinking that if it's too much over 20, then my wiggles will be quite strange. But let's try the 19. And then I click apply and let the computer do its magic. Okay, maybe the wiggles could have been bigger. So, okay, I'll press spacebar and you'll see what it means. Okay, this is the wiggler. So now my spaceship looks like it's broken somehow. Okay, if I backspace and put the magnitude even to bigger, maybe 40. Let's see what it gives me. Okay. Okay, I would not like to travel in that spaceship. And you might remember what I showed you last time, that if you think that the movement that it has made is too slow or too fast, you can change it by grabbing all the keyframes and then by holding down the Alt key, take the last keyframe and just, oh, come on. Make it and just drag it to be either faster or slower. So now I'm making it slower by a couple of seconds. So that's the wiggler. And what I could do, I could make my the spaceship wiggle more or less in one place, and then import it as one more spaceship into my earlier spaceships composition as a nested file. I could actually do just that. Do you have any question about this before I make the wiggling in one place? Apparently not. So now there are no keyframes at all, and what I want is to scale it a bit. And now I'll make a couple of keyframes where the position is not much different, but a little bit. Because the wiggler can't work if there are no keyframes for it to work with, but that's, I said that already, I think. Okay, a little bit of movement up and down. Going back to where it stopped. And then applied. And now the wiggling is in one place. And of course, in order to make it look smoother, I could put the motion blur in. And okay, let's take the background away. And now I could go back to my spaceships composition here and just import my wiggling composition as well, not import, but nest it over here. And there it is. And it's not a 3D layer yet, so I'll have to make it one. And I'll need to put it in a different position. Maybe it's like a spaceship that's not in order, and it's in a tau of these others. And I need to, of course, parent it to the null object that I made, the ship parent. Okay, let's see how this works, this nested composition now. Okay, and there it comes. And it's just calculating the animation right now. So it takes a bit more energy to do this. I kind of like it how the spotlight is hitting the spaceship. Okay, let's go back to the beginning. See. Yeah, so that was one way of using the wiggler. But let's go back to the wiggling composition, and I'll make my spaceship invisible for a while, and or I could just make a new composition with just text. So now you should know how to use this together with some text. Oh, I like the background so much that I want to use it here again. Anyway, I'll create a little bit of text and then wiggle that. Okay, 400 pixels is maybe a bit much. 200 is maybe better. Okay. Anybody know from which movie this reference has been taken from? Which sci-fi movie? Classic one? Oh yeah. I'm old. So this was in the original trailers and ads for the first Alien movie. I was too young to go see it in the movie theater at that point, but the newspaper ads, they were really good. So the original sentence is, in space, nobody can hear you scream, which is technically true because there is no sound. Okay, so if I want to wiggle the text just as it's in one place, then what I could do, well, I could just make a couple of position keyframes and wiggle it like that, just like I did with the spaceship. There we go. So now it's wiggling in one place. And looks a little bit nervous, like the sentence maybe refers to somebody who's afraid of something. Okay, I'll get rid of these for the while. And let's get into Animators. But maybe before I show you how to do it with text, maybe it's clearer to show it with some other sort of object, because that can be also useful sometimes. Okay, so I'm going to deselect everything on my in my work area and here in my timeline, and I'm going to create an ellipse. And now it's creating me a shape layer, not a mask, because I didn't have anything selected earlier. And I think I want to have fill, but not a stroke this time. And the simple sort of fill will be quite okay for me. Okay, there we go. So this is a little bit boring looking thing. For instance, if I would toggle the switches and modes, I could make it look maybe a little bit more interesting, but still it's like just a shape that doesn't do anything. So let's make it do something. So I'm going to add a couple of animators here. So when I open up the shape layer in the timeline, there's this little button called Add. And if I click here, this little arrow, these come out. And you notice that there's also the wiggling thing over there, wiggle transform and wiggle pass. And there are other things as well. So maybe I'll start by changing the basic shape of this ellipse by pucker and bloat. Okay, you can see something happening there already. And you can see that now there is something more over here in the options. Like we had the stroke and fill here, and now we have the pucker and bloat. And also there's the ellipse path, of course. Okay, I can open this up now and change the amount of this puckering and animate it. Okay, I'll change this first to 0. That's a good place to start, 0. And I'll change it like this. Yeah, and I'll do another kind of change from here. So if I still increase the amount, things are getting interesting, to say the least. Or if I put it to minus, that might be also an option. Yeah, why not? And maybe, just maybe, it could go back to normal at the end. Okay. So in itself, this is not too interesting yet. So let's keep adding these. What could I use? I could try twist, for instance. See where it takes me. And again, with a twist, I need to create the first keyframes. Angle and center, it lets me twist. Okay. As you can see, there's a little bit of twist already in the angle. Yeah, why not? Okay, I don't know if I need any more twists and turns, except maybe I could change the center a bit. Okay. What else could I put here so that it would look more interesting? Okay, maybe a zigzag. Right, I'll start with the size of 0 and 0 ridges per segment. Then go to bigger size quite soon. Yeah, why not? Is this too slow? So it's taking its time to render this now. You can see. Yeah, maybe this is too much. Let's make it less so. Okay, so this is one way of making stuff more interesting. And what I could do now is to change the mode of the layer to, let's try the overlay, for instance. How that would look like. Yeah. So with this fairly simple geometric effect, or it's not even effect, it's just changing the shape of the shape layer a little bit. I can make weird things happen. Okay, so let's get into the next phase here and into the how to change text. So I'll make the shape layer invisible again. And let's use the text that I already created. And maybe the characters could be a little bit smaller. And it's not changing because I had not selected the layer. Smart of me. Not very. Right. So let's keep that size for now. Okay. But I think before we go into the animators, I think it would be good for you to know how to put text on a path. That was here in my notes, and I think I should do as they say in this case. All right. As you know, if you want to make a mask into a layer, that layer has to be selected. And then, okay, let's create another ellipse. And then after that, create an open path. And you can see how that works out. Okay, now it's working like a mask works. But what I want is something different. And I can do that from here, like I'll click open the text options in the timeline. And there's the path options for the text. And yes, everything is hidden. So here where it says none, I click mask 1, and then it should go on that path, which is mask 1. So now I could, of course, change the size of it, for instance. Or I could try reversing the path like this and changing the margin so that it goes here. There's also a tool over here that I can where I can just move it. And by the way, I can also make it animate if I have put a first keyframe for the first margin, then I could just go make it a round trip. Whoa. It's probably too fast, but I can change the place of the keyframe later. There's the keyframe, so I'll just move it further away. See? Okay, so this is one way of animating the text and putting it on the path. Another way of animating it would be to change the mask itself, animate that. So let's go into that, because you will, well, there's a lot to do with animating masks in After Effects anyway. Okay, for this I need to click here on the mask path. Let's see. Okay, there's the mask path. So I need to click a keyframe for that. I don't need any mask feather here, because that's not how I'm using the mask right now. Okay, and then I need to change the path. I can, for instance, move it around, or I can double click it and make it bigger or smaller. And the text animates at the same time. Okay, so let's try out a mask path that is an open path and not a closed one. So I'll just create another mask. I don't need to get rid of this mask, although I could, but it's enough just to take the pen, fill in some random vector points, or pull out, I don't know which word to use there. And then when I'm done with the points, I click ESC. And now I will tell the text that it should follow the mask 2 instead of the mask 1. Path options, mask 2. Okay, and I think I need to change the path. And now the first margin is in a ridiculous place, so I need to change that too. There we go. And there's also the perpendicular to path on. I could change that off, so then, well, this is also in a way interesting. Or I could put false alignment, that the text will always be the same length than the path. And all of these can be animated, of course. So now that I'm happy with the path options, now I could take the mask 2 options, animate the mask path. So you have to double click on the mask path to get and then shift click to get to the actual points, and then you can change them. It's again a bit of a fiddle. There you go. Of course, with this method, you could make text that comes and goes rapidly out of the picture, out of the screen or into the screen. There are also like ready-made effects like this that you can theoretically get from the presets by browsing presets, but for some reason in this newest version of After Effects that I've downloaded, I can't get the presets to load to After Effects, and I haven't found the reason for that, despite all the Googling. But yeah, I can show you where you can find the presets if you can get them to work. So if you click Browse Presets, it will open another program. The bridge. So you'll have to have the bridge downloaded on your computer, of course. And here you can find all kinds of transitions, sound effects, special effects for images, and also text effects. And the previous version that I had of After Effects, it worked quite easily. Okay, let's see, 3D text, graphical lights, and blah, blah. Okay, let's see what's here. So it's showing quite easily like what each of these is, what it looks like. If I double click on it, I can, oh, did it actually take it? It seems so, yes. So yes, it worked. Wow, I didn't expect that. Okay, so I'm surprised that it did work, because now it's here as an effect. And you can see that it's added to Animators here for the effect. And of course, it doesn't make sense because I didn't actually look what it was. But yeah, it looks nice. Let's have the default view. Let's see how it would look like. So there's first my animation and then the ready-made animation after that. There we go. Okay, but I'll take these animators away, because actually I wanted to show you how these work. Well, maybe I don't have to take them away, I'll just make them invisible very soon. So, okay, let's make this text animate with the ready-made animations. So I think the mask thing is just in the way, more or less, right now. So I'll just take that away. So that's not taking any masks. Also, I could just get rid of the masks since they are a little bit in the way now. So there's like normal text that is doing nothing. And what I want to do is add some animators there. So I can do it from here by clicking the animate button, which is already, which I used earlier. Now it has different things here than before. We have enable per character 3D. this is not on by default. You have to make it so. So I could say that, okay, maybe I want to have another fill color. Let's start with something simple. Okay, and now it has created a new animator number 3 over here. And it has given it a new fill color, and there's something called a range selector. Let's see, I'll first make a keyframe for the fill color and then for the range selector. So we'll start with that, start to see what it means. So if I start with this range selector with a start, then this is what happens. So it's starting with the original color and then going to the new color that I gave it. So I'm going a few seconds forward in time and change the range selector. So now the letters change color one by one. What I could also not change, of course, is the fill color itself. So a new keyframe over there where nothing basically happens, but now other things happen. Just going back to yellow. And now it's going back to yellow slowly, ever so slowly. The question is, why couldn't I change the color from here? So yes, I could have just keyframed the source text and then changed the color from there, but then it wouldn't have been gradual. It would change the color bang at the keyframe, and that would be it. Also, by keyframing the source text, by the way, I can change the text itself, so it can become a different text at some point. I'll show that as an example. Source text. There's my first keyframe. I'll go to the next with OK. So now I could change the text into so this is also a classic sci-fi novel. That's the name of the novel. I have no mouth, but I must scream. A good novel, by the way. Okay, and now you notice that there are the there are the signs of a 3D layer. So as soon as the per character 3D was enabled, this also became a 3D layer. Okay, so I can add other things to this animator 3, or I can make a new animator. So let's see. The scaling and position are quite interesting. So all of these are per character things. If you want to move the whole text, then there are still down here the normal transform settings. So these are just, the animators are just for the text, for the letters. Okay, let's start changing the position over here. And yeah, if there's also the range selector that I should use probably for this to work properly, because now the range is all the range, so it's going all the way. So I must make new keyframes over here. So this should do the trick. Yes, as you can see, the range that I have chosen is moving. And that's why the wiggler is a nice thing to have here in the animators, because then you can just let the wiggler do its thing. So it's still having this range, but of course I could change the range like this. Generally, my character or personality is a little bit too. I'm not that patient as a person that I could have much fun with these. So often I use the ready-made animators and then just wiggle around with them. So that's one way to do it. So you can see that there's the wiggly selector in place, for instance. And that's why these letters move in a nice way so that they wiggle at the same time as they go. Okay, I'll stop sharing for a while.